Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. Arun Jaitley has advised the CAG not to sensationalize and point fingers. He's told them to be auditors, not activists. But is this a contradiction of what the BJP used to say at the time of 2G and Colgate? And is it proper for a government minister to tell a constitutional authority how to behave? That's the discussion in part 2. But first, is the long drawn-out procedure to ascertain whether another government is possible in Delhi simply a time-delaying tactic? Is it a way of giving BJP space to make up its mind, or are the criticisms of the Lieutenant Governor unfair, or at least unreasonable? That's the first discussion tonight. And now joining me to discuss the political manoeuvrings as the Lieutenant Governor struggles to see if another government is possible in Delhi is the political editor of The Hindu, Verghese George, former Congress Minister Arun Jaitley, Aam Aadmi Party leader and spokesperson who will be joining us in a moment, Ashutosh, and BJP Delhi spokesperson Ejaz Ilmi. Arun Jaitley, after refusing the Aam Aadmi Party a dissolution in February, and placing the Delhi Assembly in suspended animation, would you accept that the governor has a moral as well as a democratic duty to see if another government can be formed before calling fresh elections? Otherwise, he'll simply make a mockery of his decision to keep the Assembly in suspended animation.
See, for the last 5 months, the Assembly is, BJP came to power, and in 5 months they were unable to decide whether they will form the government or not. If you remember, Dr. Harshvardhan, when he became the legislative party leader, he declared this in a letter to the Honorable Lieutenant Governor that we are not in a position to form the government because we did not get the mandate from the people of Delhi, and we are short of people and we do not believe in horse trading. And now, for the last 5 months, what is happening, I am unable to understand. Congress has very clearly said and categorically said that we are for the dissolution of the Assembly. Even the Aam Aadmi Party also said that we want that the House be dissolved.
Mr. Yusuf, you're forgetting the possibility of a, no, Mr. Yusuf, you're forgetting the possibility of a minority government. It's a legitimate form of government. Mr. Narasimha Rao formed a minority government for 5 years in Delhi. The BJP has a right to try if it wants. So I come back to my question.
Okay.
Surely the governor has a moral duty to try and make one more attempt before he calls for fresh elections. Answer that.
Okay. But for minority government, you will have to give the names of the MLAs who will be supporting it.
Not necessarily.
And on the other hand, the BJP is saying
not necessarily. Forgive me.
No,
a minority government survives in a sense on bluff. It survives on the capacity or the inability of the opposition to combine to bring it down. You don't need to give the names of supporting MLAs. That's only your version of it. Let me bring in Verghese George. Let me pick up on the first point that Mr. Yusuf was making. How long can the governor take to ascertain whether another government can be formed? This governor has taken up to 8 months. Has he, in your eyes, needlessly prevaricated, or did he have to give a certain space of time before he attempted a second attempt at government? Which do you think it is, prevarication, or was that time necessary?
I mean, I would not conclude either way, but I think the governor, the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, needs to explain his action or rather inaction over these many months if he indeed was planning or exploring the possibility of possibly a minority government, as you said. What were the options before him? Is anyone trying, or has anyone been staking claim? Is the BJP wanting to make or is exploring the possibility of a minority government? Because there has been complete silence from the BJP or ambiguity on the BJP side, whereas, as Mr. Yusuf said, 2 other parties have called for or asked for an election. And not only that, when the Aam Aadmi Party government resigned before resignation, it recommended the dissolution of the House, and that recommendation was made by a government which enjoyed majority in the Delhi Assembly at that time. So since then, the entire conduct of the Delhi LG, I think, needs to be explained. Okay. I would not pass judgment, but I would say it actually there is something what public would want to know there.
It's very interesting when one talks about the Lieutenant Governor Ashutosh. Your party until this morning was sharply critical. Your leader actually yesterday repeatedly on television virtually accused Mr. Najib Jung of being in the pocket of the BJP. But today in court, Prashant Bhushan seems to have indicated that in fact he's quite happy in approving of the action that the governor is taking. So have you changed your mind? Have you done a U-turn?
No, of course not. Of course not. And I think I want to remind Harun Yusuf when he said that the Congress is very clear on the question of dissolution. Today only in the Supreme Court, the Congress lawyer has said that Delhi do not have a full statehood. So it doesn't matter if the current president rule continues. So there is a confusion in the Congress. So on the question of us, we are asking Lieutenant Governor to dissolve, and Burgess was quite right when he said in 14th February 2014 when Arvind Kejriwal resigned, there was a majority cabinet decision which said that please dissolve assembly, which was not followed.
But you queered the pitch in May when you wrote a letter to the governor saying please don't dissolve, give us a chance, we're interested. Then you changed your position again, so you've done your flip-flops too.
No, let me complete. When we saw that there was no possibility of government being formed and there is no possibility of dissolution of the assembly, and on that point we thought if there is no dissolution of assembly, Delhi should not be in limbo for a long time. So we thought let's go to the people and ask people whether should we form the government or should
But you beautifully sidestepped the question I put to you, which was this, and I'm repeating it. Until today, you were critical of the governor. Yesterday, you were accusing him of being in the BJP's pocket. Today, in court, Prashant Bhushan is approving of him.
Karan, let me also say, we are still critical of the role what Mr. Lieutenant Governor has played. Lieutenant Governor has been trying to help BJP form the government. That is the official position of the Aam Aadmi Party. And today only when the
So then why did Prashant Bhushan take an approving line today?
No. What Prashant Bhushan has said is finally Lieutenant Governor has at least tried to do something. That's the position. It's not that we have changed our position.
Your stress on the word finally makes it a different answer. Prashant didn't stress finally the way you did today.
I'm saying that's what Prashant has intended.
Okay, well, intended. That's what he intended but didn't manage to say. Now you're saying it for him.
No, I'm saying what he has said. There is the official party position and what the Prashant Bhushan has equally respected.
I'll allow you to correct your spokesman or your lawyer. That's your prerogative. Ijaz Ilmi, when you look at the situation from the perspective or standpoint of the BJP, to be honest, it looks like a complete charade. And I'll tell you why. When the governor approaches the president for permission to ask or invite the BJP, the person who's going to give that permission is not the governor, it's Home Minister Rajnath Singh. Then when the governor gets the permission and calls the head of the BJP in Delhi to ask, do you want to form a government, the decision is not going to come from that gentleman. Once again, it's going to come from the Modi government. So just short circuit everything. Don't make us dance around in circles and just tell us, does the BJP want to form a government or not?
The BJP can only form the government if it has the numbers. And as stated by every leader, that the numbers are not available. But politics is always the art of the impossible. I'm not speaking as a spokesperson. I'm a member of the BJP.
Art of the impossible?
It is art of the possible. It's art of the possible.
You said impossible, but you meant possible.
It's art of the possible. But what I'm trying to say is today, the Aam Aadmi Party is talking in a different tone.
No, but just a moment. You began it. Let's not go to Aam Aadmi.
Is well within his rights.
Mr. Ilmi, listen to this. You began by saying that BJP can only form a government if it has the numbers. You clearly don't have the numbers at the moment, so why don't you end everyone's doubts and say we can't form the government? Why are you instead saying we're waiting for the governor to ask us? When the governor asks us, we'll tell. The governor wants to get permission to ask you. Mr. Rajnath Singh has to give the permission. It's a circle you're leading us into.
Well, the circle is also, we have the Supreme Court also part of the circle. Thankfully, on a petition by Aam Aadmi Party, which involved them, and the Supreme Court today said it's very, very positive.
You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question. You've gone off to the Supreme Court. I asked you about the charade you were creating as the BJP. What about that?
What is the charade? The charade is that you can only have a government if you have the numbers, or a minority government which has to be tested on the floor of the House.
You're not saying either. You're confusing the issue by
actually. Then you say you want elections.
We have 12 days.
Then BJP should say that they want election. They are not saying the same thing also in Supreme Court. Or outside the Supreme Court, they are saying something else. Inside the Supreme Court, there's something else. The person sitting here.
Gentlemen, this is not a personal private. Gentlemen, this is not a personal private quarrel between the two of you. Harun, Yusuf, let me put this to you. Do you believe that in fact the reason why the BJP is unable to articulate exactly what it wants, the reason why they're leading us around in circles is because actually they want to wait for the by-election results to test the water. Then, if they win, they'll have the confidence to go for the polls. And if they don't, then maybe they'll decide a minority government is a better solution. Do you suspect that's the real reason if they won't say it?
the real reason what Mr. Varghese has said, because if you remember, this process which Lieutenant Governor is talking today, it should have been done before sending a letter to the Honorable President of India. Now he wants to consult Congress, Aam Aadmi Party or the BJP. This should have been done before writing that letter. That shows the intentions of the Bharatiya Janata Party are not very clear.
And therefore you're suggesting to me, as Ashutosh's party has also been saying more publicly, that you believe the governor is acting in the behalf of and in the interest of the BJP. Is that the point you're making, Mr. Yusuf?
This is what it looks like.
He was, of course, your appointee. You made him Lieutenant Governor. Have you forgotten that?
You see, Lieutenant Governor is a totally constitutional body, and whoever has appointed, but what is he doing today? And what happened 5 months before? The situation has not changed at all.
Let me bring you in.
I would like to remind.
Go ahead.
I would like to remind the Aam Aadmi Party, Kejriwal ji is always talking of high moral standards. Now I want to ask, why has he written a letter to the Lieutenant Governor that you don't dissolve the assembly?
No, that was in May.
Please wait for some time.
Mr. Yusuf, I'm stopping you. I raised that issue with Ashutosh a moment ago. That happened in May. Let's not go back to what happened in May. I raised that issue a moment ago with Ashutosh. He answered it as well. I want to bring in Varghese George and put this to you. The Supreme Court has set the next date of the next hearing as the 11th of November. Do you believe that that is a subtle but very effective deadline the governor has been given? Either by the 11th, he has to have decided a government is possible and begin to swear it in, or he has to decide it's not possible and elections have to be called.
Yes, I think both the Supreme Court and the counsel for the AAP party, Mr. Prashant Bhushan, both of them are, I think, trying to take a little tactical line, the court and the counsel, because getting into an argument on the merit of this entire case, that the petition that AAP has filed, is going to be not a very short process. The Supreme Court cannot conclude this case on its merit in a quick period of time, before the entire exercise becomes infructuous. Therefore, I think when Mr. Bhushan also said he would actually like to see what the Lieutenant Governor would do on 11th, I think he's trying to nudge the BJP, nudge the Lieutenant Governor into taking a position either way. Therefore, there can be a conclusion to this entire drama, as you rightly said. I would also like to point out one thing. In 2006, the Supreme Court Constitutional Bench went into the question of the dissolution of Bihar Assembly by Bhuta Singh. So there was a very interesting sentence in the judgment which he said, the governor cannot do anything that furthers the interest of a particular party. That was an argument. I think in this case, the Delhi LG's actions are not above board on that standard.
All right. Let me put this, I'll come to you in a moment. Let me put this to you, Ashutosh. The problem is, by the 11th, we will be well into the by-election process. In fact, we'll be exactly 2 weeks away from voting. Might that not be a situation when the Supreme Court looks at it, where they say to themselves, we're so far down the road of these by-elections that even if it's necessary to call elections, let's wait to see what the by-elections throw up, particularly because many people believe that the by-elections will go the BJP's way, thus strengthening their ability to form a minority government. So rather than be a deadline, could the 11th of November instead become an excuse for the Supreme Court not to call elections, even if it wants to, and say, no, we better wait, because this process is now already begun, it's becoming a fait accompli?
See, but what Supreme Court is going to do and what Supreme Court thinks, I think we should not discuss on that, because that's within the domain of the judiciary. But what I can say,
but intelligent people can still discuss it.
We can always discuss. We can always discuss.
I'm asking you as an intelligent human being to speculate about that.
Thank you so much for calling me. But the fact is, even after these, the riddle is that even after the results of these three by-elections are over, there is no possibility of formation of the government, because these three, even if the BJP wins, they can reach to 32, and still they will sort of the 4 MLAs, like in.
Can I answer that for you? Can I answer that for you? You see, this is the interesting thing. Let me interrupt and answer, and then you carry on. You see, you've been accusing, and Congress has been accusing the BJP of wanting to buy those remaining 4. The truth is, Two of those four are Bini and Shokeen. One expelled from you, the other an independent. They'll definitely side with the BJP. That means two others are needed. Now, all they have to do is to ensure that two people on the day of voting conveniently fall ill.
That's just horse trading. That's horse trading.
It's not horse trading.
Horse trading, yes. But
it's not horse trading. People may fall ill for whatever reason. You call it horse trading.
Karan, let me complete. Because what I was giving the one scenario, there can be another scenario where all three seats are won by Aam Aadmi Party. Then, and if
there's a real problem, and I'm happy to put that. I'm happy to put that scenario to you, because the scenario I sketched out gives you the confidence to run a minority government, and undoubtedly that's what you're hoping for. But the scenario he's sketching out means you lose all three, and then your enthusiasm for elections will diminish even further. If at the moment you don't want elections, you'll want it even less when you've lost all three by-elections. So I put this to you: form a minority government, run it for as long as you can, because really your intention is to delay the elections. If you can't delay it one way, delay it this way.
A minority government per se by nature is limited by time. It's a stopgap arrangement. So it's better to get the mandate per se than to actually look for a scenario like this.
Well, if it's better to get the mandate per se, why are you delaying getting the mandate?
Well, let the LG do his job. You have 11 days time. Heavens won't fall. The Aam Aadmi Party has filed a petition.
You had 8 months to indicate to the LG you want an early election.
What was the political solution? Has become a legal imbroglio initiated by Aam Aadmi Party. Let it run its course. Let them be satisfied and let them speak in one language where Pashto is saying something else and Prashant Bhatt is saying something else.
I'll come back to Mr. Yusuf. Let me put this to you. And I'll put this to you as one reason why, if the BJP had the guts, and I underline those words, had the guts to try a minority government, they could actually get away with it. And the reason is this: in September, the Hindustan Times reported that several senior members of your party, speaking quietly, actually indicated to the paper that they were willing for the BJP to run a minority government for several months. And the reason was twofold. First of all, they realized an early election would decimate Congress. And secondly, the longer an election is delayed, the more the Aam Aadmi Party's appeal will diminish, which is also in your interest. Now, if that was the logic in September, that logic still holds good at the end of October. That's why I put it to you that if the BJP tries to live dangerously and run a minority government, they could get away with it. Mr. Yusuf? Oh dear, what a point at which to lose the line to Mr. Yusuf.
Well, as I said,
he's back.
You're back. Please answer. Answer?
The audio is not very clear.
All right, then I'll put that question to someone else. Verghese George, you heard that question. Do you think that the lifeline I was sketching out is something the BJP could try?
Kindly repeat the question.
I'll come back to you in a moment, Mr. Yusuf. Verghese George, do you want to answer it?
Yes, BJP could have tried it. I think the BJP is itself confused about the future course of action vis-a-vis Delhi. There is a section within the BJP, particularly its national president and the national leadership. A lot many of them would like to experiment the possibility of making a minority government and looking for cobbling up the numbers. But there are other issues involved in that. They wanted to delay it until the Maharashtra election and the Haryana election. So there could be other forces which might be dissuading the BJP. There is talk about an internal survey that apparently the BJP had commissioned, which was not projecting all that a rosy scenario for the BJP in Delhi. There could be many forces at work. But I think BJP can afford to be more confident than it appears to be now.
Why do you think they're so diffident in that case?
That, I think, it is their inability to do that gamble in Delhi like they did in Maharashtra, possibly because of the high optical effect that a disaster in Delhi could have for BJP's prospects and Narendra Modi's personal image. So therefore, I think the BJP wants to play it quite safe, and in case the possibility of making a government within the assembly after the by-elections, as somebody was pointing out, that is the best case scenario the BJP hopes to do. But November 11th, if the Supreme Court is going to be harsh on the LG, I think that option the BJP will have to close.
I'm going to put that to you. You know what you're actually being accused of by Verghese George? Lacking the guts of your own conviction. You took the risks you needed to in Haryana and Maharashtra, and they paid off. Here, you're scared because it's Delhi. It'll reflect poorly on Mr. Modi, who's sitting in the middle of Delhi. Suddenly, here you don't want to take a risk.
The BJP is not at all scared of elections, and it's very confident as and when they are held, we will come to a majority on our own.
You're the barrier to them being
Absolutely.
held.
Secondly, Verghese George, there's a contradiction in what he says. He talks about the LG November 11th. Right now, the Supreme Court has patted the LG Najib Jang on his back for positive work. And on the 11th, either if he says the government, a stable government can be formed, then we'll have a government. If it can't be formed, there won't be a government. Where's the question of lambasting the LG in this case?
Well, we're not actually talking about the LG at this moment, so let's come back to the subject, which is in fact the holding of elections. You don't believe the BJP can actually run a minority government. The truth is that many people believe that there'll be enough congressmen who join abstentions, even if it annoys their party, because they're scared of losing their seat. If they can hold on for 6 months or 8 months, that's better than having to face an immediate election and go out. That's the lifeline they can trade on if they had the guts to do it. The problem is their guts, but if they did, they can get away with it.
Firstly, the minority government has to prove its majority on the floor of the House.
Yes.
Secondly,
Just once, and after that they have 6 months.
6 months.
No, yeah, but after 6 months again, if there is a no confidence motion, again they have to prove the majority.
6 months down the road, they may find their guts.
But Karan, the bigger question is, do you want a Narasimha Rao model again? That when the Prime Minister, when he relinquished his job, was to be arrested because of that reason. And you also know the JMM can't. So do you think in a democracy, when if we call ourselves as an evolved democracy, as a civilized democracy, we should allow the horse trading to happen? And BJP, which is supposed to be on a high wave, is why running away from elections?
Let me bring you in, Mr. Yusuf, and hopefully the line is functioning. If the BJP were to try and run a minority government, what would Congress do? Would you officially vote against it? Or would you then change your mind because you might say the people of Delhi should be given a fair chance?
We will vote against it. We will issue a whip against them to our MLAs. And second thing is, BJP is scared of fighting elections in Delhi because the kind of promises they have made. They have promised the people of Delhi they will bring down prices. They will reduce the power bills by 30%.
Mr. Yusuf,
and what subsidy we used to give.
All of that would have applied in Maharashtra and Haryana. They weren't scared of fighting an election there. Why would they be scared of fighting an election in Delhi?
They are not confident because in Haryana and Maharashtra, they had a government for 15 years in Maharashtra and 10 years in Haryana. And the anti-incumbency was there. And
are you telling me the anti-incumbency against Mrs. Dixit's government has suddenly disappeared in 8 months? Are you saying that Congress is not
black money? They tried to defame us like that. But in Delhi, people know.
Very quickly, I'm going to go to Verghese George for a last independent assessment of the different scenarios, different conflicting opinions being put by the three rival politicians. Do you believe that the anti-incumbency Congress faced in December has somehow dissipated and disappeared with the time lag of 8 months and that Congress can do a lot better? Or do you believe that if the BJP had the guts, which clearly they don't seem to have at the moment, but if they did, they could reap more benefit in Delhi by going to the polls?
Yes, I firmly believe that the BJP would be the gainer if there is a re-election in Delhi. But somehow there is some reason, I think, which I am unable to fathom, which makes the BJP unable to take that plunge. The anti-incumbency against the Congress is shown no let up in the last 1 year or so. I really don't think so. But as I said earlier, Delhi is one state that anti-incumbency votes has another claimant in the form of AAP. So therefore, I think, whereas in Haryana or in Maharashtra, the BJP was confident of clearly being the beneficiary of that anti-incumbency sentiment, the BJP perhaps is not confident enough, which I think they can afford to back.
And that may well be the explanation why the BJP is not biting the bullet and wanting time and wanting to see the by-election results. That's not
running away from
running away or playing for time because they want
to be held.
Not necessarily.
We are fighting fit for elections.
Let's be polite. Let's be polite and not call it running away. Let's say playing for time. But gentlemen, we've run right out of time. It was a pleasure having you both in studio, quarreling with each other. It reminds me exactly of what the fun politicians can give us when they do genuinely quarrel. My thanks also to Verghese George and Mr. Yusuf. And apologies, Mr. Yusuf, for that bad line.